My grandparents' house wasn't just a home, it was a portal to another dimension. Get ready for a spine-tingling tale of unsettling events that left me questioning what lurks in the shadows. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today, I'm going to tell you a story that's been haunting me for years, a story about my grandparents' house that's more than just bricks and mortar. It's a place where the line between reality and the unknown blurred, a place that seemed to hide secrets darker than I could have ever imagined. But before I dive into the spooky details, let me set the scene for you. Because understanding the house, its history, its architecture, and its atmosphere is key to understanding the strange events that unfolded there. The house is located in a quiet, rural town nestled between dense woods and rolling hills. It's an old, Victorian-style mansion built in the late 1800s with tall, narrow windows, intricate woodwork, and a wraparound porch that creaks with every gust of wind. The house has a certain grandeur, but also a sense of neglect. The paint is peeling, and some of the shutters are crooked. My grandparents bought the house in the early 70s. They loved its charm, but over the years, they often joked that it had a personality of its own, a sentiment I'd come to understand more deeply as I experienced firsthand the strange phenomena lurking within its walls. The house has an expansive layout with a large main hall, several bedrooms, a dusty library filled with ancient books, and a basement that feels colder, almost unnaturally so. There's also an attic, filled with relics, old trunks, and mysterious artifacts that seem to whisper stories from the past. Initially, the house felt warm and inviting. It was the kind of place where family gatherings were frequent, laughter echoed through the halls, and the smell of homemade cookies lingered in the air. But something shifted over time. The atmosphere grew heavier, especially at night. At first, I thought it was just the creaking of the old house, natural settling sounds, or maybe the wind rattling the windows. But then, strange things started happening, small, subtle, yet impossible to ignore. Shadows moving where they shouldn't, cold spots that seemed to freeze the air, and a feeling of being watched. One particular evening, during a family dinner, I distinctly saw a dark silhouette pass by the doorway. It was quick, almost like a shadow darting past, but I wasn't the only one who saw it. My grandparents exchanged nervous glances, but they brushed it off, saying it was just the house settling or my imagination. Yet, deep down, I knew something was different. Something was lurking in the shadows, waiting to be seen. The first time I truly felt the house wasn't entirely normal was on a cold, rainy night. I was about 14, alone in my room, reading a book. Suddenly, I heard a faint tapping sound coming from the window, but when I looked, no one was there. Just the rain, streaking down the glass. As I got up to investigate, the tapping stopped. I shrugged it off, telling myself it was just the wind. But then I noticed something strange. The window latch was undone, something that I never remembered touching. I locked it again, but a chill ran down my spine. That night, I kept hearing footsteps in the hallway, faint, echoing footsteps, but no one was home. I called out, but no response. My heart pounded in my chest as I sat frozen in bed, listening to the eerie silence that followed. How did it make me feel? Honestly, it was terrifying. I felt like I was in a nightmare, caught between reality and something sinister. It was the first time I truly questioned whether the house was just old and creaky or something more. That night, I couldn't sleep. Every shadow seemed alive, and I kept wondering, what if something was watching me? I started to see the house differently after that. What once felt like a cozy home now seemed like a gateway to the unknown. Once the first strange incident happened, I thought it was just a coincidence, maybe my imagination running wild. But as time went on, the occurrences became more frequent, more intense, and impossible to dismiss. Over the following months, the house seemed to develop a life of its own. What started as fleeting shadows and cold spots soon turned into a barrage of inexplicable events. Objects began to move on their own. One night, I was sitting in the living room when I noticed a photo frame wobbling on the shelf. I went over to steady it, but as I touched it, The frame suddenly fell, smashing on the floor. I looked around, nothing had been knocked over or disturbed, and no breeze was blowing. It was as if something had deliberately knocked it down. Unexplained noises became more frequent, sometimes muffled footsteps, sometimes echoing loudly in the empty house. Doors would creak open or slam shut on their own, even when the house was perfectly still. I'd hear whispering voices, but when I'd investigate, there was no one there. Shadows flickered in the corners of my vision, tall, dark figures that would dart out of view when I turned to look directly at them. Sometimes, I'd catch fleeting glimpses of a figure standing at the end of the hall, staring silently. The house's atmosphere grew oppressive. I'd often feel a cold hand on my shoulder or a sudden drop in temperature that made my skin crawl. During one night, I awoke to find my blankets pulled off me, though the room was temperature-controlled. Naturally, I tried to rationalize these events. Could it be drafts, faulty wiring, or animals? Maybe, but electrical issues don't usually cause objects to move or shadows to dance across walls. No, there was something else, something more sinister. The house felt alive, responding to unseen forces. As months turned into years, the strange phenomena escalated. The house seemed to become more active when I was alone, especially at night. Every time I tried to dismiss what I saw or heard, something new would happen, pushing me further into doubt and fear. One particularly unsettling night, I was in the basement, a place I usually avoided after dark, when I heard a soft whispering coming from the corner. I froze, heart pounding. When I finally mustered the courage to look, there was nothing there, just the shadows and silence. But I felt an icy breath on my neck, like someone or something was right behind me. The more I experienced these events, the more I questioned whether I was losing my mind. Was I hallucinating? Was it all just coincidences? Or was something truly trying to communicate? Each new incident deepened my sense of dread and curiosity. Flickering lights, shadows moving across walls, objects subtly shifting positions. These became part of my nightly routine. I'd record faint whispers, strange noises, and unexplained movements, trying to catch evidence of whatever was haunting the house. Despite all my efforts, the house refused to give up its secrets easily. I read everything I could find about the house's history and paranormal phenomena. The house's past is filled with stories of tragedy, death, and mysterious disappearances, common ingredients in haunted tales. Some theories I considered were residual hauntings, where the house replayed old tragedies like a ghostly tape, or an intelligent spirit, perhaps trying to communicate or seek justice. I even wondered if the house was some kind of portal or doorway to another dimension, as I initially suggested. Despite consulting books, online forums, and local historians, no clear answer emerged. The only certainty was that whatever was happening was real, and it was growing more intense. It felt like the house was alive, watching, waiting. One night, I was alone in my room when I heard a loud bang from downstairs. Heart pounding, I grabbed a flashlight and hesitantly made my way down. The house was silent, but I felt an overwhelming sense of dread. As I reached the living room, I saw a faint, glowing figure standing by the fireplace, see-through, human-shaped, and staring directly at me. I froze, unsure whether I was hallucinating or seeing something genuinely supernatural. The figure didn't move, just stood there, silent. Then, it slowly faded into the shadows. That moment marked a turning point for me. I realized that this wasn't just a series of coincidences, it was something with intention, something that wanted to be seen. The house was alive in a way I couldn't explain, and whatever was there was not done with me yet. And so, the haunting continued, more questions than answers, more shadows than light. I knew I had to face whatever was lurking in the dark, even if it meant risking everything. Because in that house, I had discovered that some secrets refused to stay buried, and some shadows refused to fade away. The more I experienced these phenomena, the more I felt compelled to find answers. I couldn't just accept that the house was haunted without understanding why, what was behind all these strange events. I started to explore every possible avenue, desperate to uncover the truth about what lurked within those walls. My first step was to research the house's history. I dug through old newspapers, local archives, and talked to longtime residents. The house's past was filled with stories of tragedy, stories of people who had lived and died there under mysterious circumstances. There were whispers of a previous owner who vanished without a trace, and tales of strange deaths that seemed to be brushed under the rug. I couldn't help but wonder, was some residual energy left behind, replaying past tragedies like a ghostly tape? But I wasn't satisfied with just reading old stories. I wanted to see if I could capture proof of what was happening. I invested in a decent camera, audio recorders, and even a night vision device. I set up cameras in the areas where the activity was most intense: the basement, the attic, the hallway outside my room. Night after night, I'd review the footage, listening intently for any unexplained sounds or seeing if anything unusual appeared. One night, I caught something truly chilling. A faint, translucent figure appeared in the corner of the basement footage, standing silently, staring directly at the camera. It was barely visible, almost like a shadow, but unmistakably there. I played the clip repeatedly, trying to convince myself I wasn't imagining things. Was it a ghost? An apparition? I didn't know, but I felt the weight of evidence pressing down on me. I also tried to communicate. I brought in a medium, someone who claimed to have experience with spirits. She performed a séance in the house, asking questions, trying to establish contact. The medium said she felt a restless spirit, someone who had unresolved issues and was trapped in the house. She described a figure, a person who had suffered great pain, details that matched some of the house's dark history. But even with her help, we didn't get clear answers. The spirit seemed elusive, as if refusing to fully reveal itself. I also reached out to local paranormal investigators, hoping their expertise might shed light on the situation. They set up equipment, EMF meters, thermal cameras, and spirit boxes. During one investigation, the spirit box picked up strange, unexplained phrases, words that seemed to be trying to communicate, pleading, or warning. The investigators were both excited and terrified, but we still left with more questions than answers. All these efforts didn't bring closure. Instead, they deepened my obsession. I realized that whatever was haunting the house was intelligent, aware of my presence, and perhaps even trying to tell me something. I started to wonder, was this entity seeking justice? Or was it simply reliving old pain, trapped in a cycle of torment? The more I tried to understand, the more I felt the house was revealing only glimpses of its secrets. Every photograph, every recording, every séance seemed to open a door to even darker mysteries. Sometimes, I'd find myself questioning whether I was chasing shadows, or if I was actually uncovering something truly supernatural. Throughout this process, I also experienced changes within myself. I became more sensitive to the unseen world. I'd wake up feeling exhausted, emotionally drained, or overwhelmed by a sense of dread that I couldn't shake off. I started keeping a journal, documenting every incident, every feeling, every strange sensation. It became clear that this wasn't just a fleeting haunting. It was a profound encounter with the unknown that was transforming me. And then, there was the night that everything changed forever. I was in the house alone, recording in the library when I felt an overwhelming presence. The air grew thick, heavy with unseen energy. Suddenly, the lights flickered violently, and I heard a voice whisper directly into my mind, clear, cold, and urgent. It said only one thing: leave now. You don't belong here. That moment was a warning, I knew it. I felt a deep, primal fear, but also a strange sense of clarity. Whatever was in that house didn't want me there anymore, and maybe, just maybe, I was in over my head. The night I heard that chilling whisper, leave now, you don't belong here, was a turning point. I knew I couldn't ignore the warnings, but I also felt an undeniable pull to understand what was truly happening. Was it a warning, a plea, or something darker? I wasn't sure. But I knew I had to make a decision: stay and confront whatever was there, or leave and try to forget everything. I decided to leave the house for good. Packing my belongings, I felt a strange mixture of relief and regret. Relief, because the oppressive weight of the house was finally lifting. Regret, because I knew I was leaving behind something I would never fully understand. But I also sensed that whatever was there, whatever had been haunting that place, had not been fully banished, at least not yet. In the weeks that followed, I distanced myself from the house. The memories lingered, vivid and haunting. I often wondered, did the phenomena ever really stop? Did the spirit find peace? Or was it still waiting, unseen, in the shadows? To this day, I can't say for sure. But I do know that the experience changed me forever. It shattered my skepticism about the supernatural. It forced me to confront the reality that there are things beyond our understanding, lurking just beyond the veil of the ordinary. Did I find closure? Not entirely. The house remains there, silent, awaiting its next visitor, or its next story. But I learned to accept that some mysteries are meant to remain unsolved, and some shadows never fully fade away. Looking back, I realized that the haunting was more than just a series of strange events. It was a profound encounter with the unknown, one that made me question life, death, and what lies beyond. It taught me that sometimes, the most terrifying things are not what we see, but what we feel deep inside. And perhaps, that's the true legacy of my grandparents' house, a reminder that some doors, once opened, can never truly be closed. Whether it was a residual memory, a restless spirit, or a portal to another realm, it left an indelible mark on my soul. So, if you take anything away from this story, let it be this. Be careful what secrets you seek, because sometimes, the shadows hold truths better left untouched. And always listen to the warnings, because some spirits don't want to be disturbed. Thanks for joining me on this journey into the unknown. If you enjoyed this story, please like, subscribe, and share your own haunted house stories in the comments. Until next time, keep your eyes open and watch the shadows, because you never know what might be lurking just beyond the edge of your vision.